In this video, we're going to be talking about the Amana heat pump lineup. We're going to be going all the way from their single stage 15 SEER systems and even their base model, their 14 SEER systems, up all the way to their various inverter products. We're going to talk about the different efficiency ratings, some of the COP data. We're going to talk about which tax credits these systems qualify for. We're going to talk about how you can pick out the one that's best for your specific situation in your specific home, because the truth is bigger or better is not always better. It just might be a more efficient system, but depending on your specific circumstances, it might not be the best system for you. So we're going to talk about all that and more. But before we get started, if you haven't done so already, please make sure you smash that like button for the algorithm and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. We put out daily and weekly content on how you can get the best HVAC for your home. So if you're finding this content helpful, please consider subscribing. It's much appreciated. So first off, let's talk about heat pumps in general. If you're tuning in for the first time and you don't know what a heat pump is basically just an air conditioner with a reversing valve and a defrost control board. And that's it in terms of the main differences between an air conditioner and a heat pump. So they're not really new technology. They've been around for a while. However, some of the advancements in technology recently have made it such that heat pumps now work well in colder climates and are getting more and more efficient, where they make sense as a viable alternative to a gas furnace, depending on your climate. Now, this is not true for all climates. If you live in a Nordic climate, so anywhere in Canada or some places where it gets very, very cold, you're definitely still going to need backup heat, because a heat pump full time is just not going to cut it, at least any of these air source heat pumps. If we're talking about geothermal heat pumps, those do work in extremely cold climates and can keep up 24/7. That is not a problem. But all these air source heat pumps are designed for moderate and cold climates, but not necessarily Nordic climates. So just keep that in mind. Now, the first model we're going to look at is basically, there's a lot of models listed here. You can see the ASZN4, the 14, the H4, the 16. What's the difference between these all the way up? Now, a lot of these, like the ASZC18, this is actually, as you can see, it says up to 18 SEER. That's SEER 1. And so a lot of these systems will not be on the site soon. They're not really selling as much of the SEER 1 technology anymore. It's basically being phased out. There's nothing wrong with it. It's rated to the SEER 1 ratings. It's not a SEER 2 system. It's just a new way of rating the efficiency of systems. And one of the biggest changes was in that SEER 2 does a better job of accounting for actual ductwork conditions that we see in the field, whereas SEER 1 was more of like a perfect laboratory study on how efficient it actually would be, because the stuff we run into in the field typically can make the efficiency go down, especially if the ductwork is undersized or the system's oversized for the home, which if it's oversized for the home, really that was a mistake made on the install part, and the only way to correct that is with the right size system. But if it's oversized for the ductwork but the right size for the home, you really just need to modify the ductwork to make it allow for more airflow. But I just wanted to touch on that because there's going to be certain systems we skip over, and the reason we're skipping over them is because they are SEER 1 systems and they're no longer relevant, or they're not going to be relevant soon. So this ASZN4 or this ASCH4, these are both basically the SEER 2 14 SEER systems. So these are not going to qualify for any rebates, but they're new, they're upgraded. These are basic single stage systems that will be great for anyone that's looking for a basic heat pump for, let's say, a rental property or a smaller home where you have a smaller electric bill and you're not really going to see a savings, right? If your energy bill is less than $100 a month, putting in the most efficient HVAC for your home, although it might provide a higher comfort factor because it's going to be quieter, both indoors and out, and that for me is worth it, it's not going to save you money. And so the thought of saving money on your energy bill shouldn't be the main reason behind that purchase. And especially if it's a starter home and you're thinking, you know what, honey, we're only going to be in this house for another 5 years, let's just get something simple. This would kind of be the heat pump that would be for you. And this ASCH4 system also has a 10-year parts warranty, but when you look at some of the added features, it has this core sense. All that is basically a control board that prevents it from damaging itself, and just a few more controls to help it function more efficiently and prevent itself from damaging itself if there's an issue with the compressor. But really all the systems we're going to talk about are going to fall into these next 4 categories, because these are all Energy Star rated systems. And so when you look at these systems that we're talking about here, it's the H5, the C7, the S6, and the V9. And what these are, just in a nutshell, is this ASZH5 is still a single stage system, but it's 15.2 SEER 2 up to 7.8 HSPF2. And what that means is that that system qualifies for that heat pump tax credit depending on your region. So you can see it's tax credit eligible. It has the Energy Star rating. It does not have an Energy Star rating for cold climates, but it will still keep up in any of these orange states. It's going to be classed as a heat pump that can keep up in those climates and will qualify for that tax credit. Now, the big difference between this H5 version and this H4, the N4 system, is just it's a little bit more efficient, and it is going to be a little bit quieter because I believe this one has a sound blanket, whereas the base model 14 SEER system does not. Now, if we jump up to this ASZV9, the only difference between these two systems is it has a two-stage scroll compressor. So the difference between a two-stage and a single-stage system is kind of what it sounds like. A single-stage system is either on or off. And if you have an air conditioner right now that's 10 years old, 20 years old, 30 years old, a 10-year-old system could still be an inverter or a multi-stage product, but most of the 20 and 30-year-old systems, single-stage systems. And so, especially if you're living in a house where you haven't replaced the HVAC yet and it's original to the home and it's, you know, like same thing, like a 15-year-old system, most builders grade products were single-stage products. This is a moderate upgrade. The biggest benefit, it is going to be a little quieter on startup because it will kick on in first stage which is about 50% capacity, and then it will stay there for 10 or 15 minutes before ramping up to 100% capacity. And that's why it's called a two-stage system, is because it has a staged compressor or multiple levels of heating and cooling. The benefit of this is it is a little more efficient. As you can see, the SEER rating jumps to 17.2. So does the HSPF2 rating. It's not going to be as quiet as any of the inverter products, which we'll talk about now, but it is a step up from these H5 or this H5 system. Now, the reason we offer a lot more inverter products is because the price difference oftentimes between this two-stage system and this inverter system are almost neck and neck in price to that two-stage system. The 9 series, the top of the line inverter, will be more expensive, but this side discharge system is typically neck and neck with in terms of the price on the equipment when compared with these two-stage models. And so unless you live in a climate that has very high ambient temperatures, or there's just a tonnage or a certain size that maybe doesn't qualify for a rebate, and so you really need to go for a two-stage system for that particular reason, we're almost always, if someone's not wanting a single-stage system and they're wanting an upgrade, this is typically your next upgrade, and that's this side discharge S6 or this S series model. And the big thing that you'll notice about this is it's side discharge, which all that means is that fan blows out the side. Because of its design, it has a much smaller footprint. It's much quieter. These systems are always going to be quieter than your traditional sized box that you think of when you think of your heat pump or your air conditioner outside. It's always going to be a lot smaller, but these systems are always quieter, and that's one of the biggest selling points behind them, especially if you live in an area where you have tight lot line. This is going on a patio. Maybe you live in a city and you have a condo and that's where your HVAC gets installed. This is a great system because you could literally be out on the patio, and when it first kicks on, it's not obnoxious, it's not annoying you. They're very quiet. Our customers love them for that reason. Now, we install more of the Daikin Fit product line. We talk about that in another video, but these are basically identical. So if your contractor is an Amana or carries Amana and has access to the Amana product line, it's basically neck and neck in terms of the system. They're basically identical. There's a few changes between the thermostat and things like that, but besides that, they're basically neck and neck. And this particular system has the Amana brand smart thermostat, which all that means is it's a communicating thermostat. And so the benefit of that is that when this system first kicks on, it's going to ramp up and down based on a signal from the thermostat that is telling it how hot it is or how cold it is, basically adjusts accordingly. So if it's set for 72 degrees and the temperature in the house is 71 and it's trying to heat, it might come on at very low capacity because it knows there's only a 1 or 2 degree difference, and so it just barely ramps up. And so you will get much longer run times with the system, but at a much higher efficiency. Now, the way that these systems make that higher efficiency, even though the SEER rating is basically identical with the two-stage system, is that these systems ramp up and down along a continuum. And so when this first kicks on, it might pull 2 or 3 amps compared to that two-stage system I showed you is still probably pulling 10 amps or maybe 15 amps depending on the tonnage. So it's still going to be much more efficient when it first kicks on. And that's where these systems really shine, is that they're small, they're quiet, and they maximize comfort because they ramp up and down. And so you get less hot spots and cold spots in your house because you get longer run times and therefore more air circulation. So this type of system is one of our best sellers. And then the next system, or the top of the line system, this ASZV9 we'll talk about now. But before we do that, if you haven't done so already, please make sure you smash that like button for the algorithm if you're enjoying this content so far, and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Again, it's a huge support, takes a lot of time and energy to put out videos like this, and your support is much appreciated. So this is an inverter driven system as well. As you can see, the SEER rating jumps quite a bit. So this is up to 22.5 on the SEER 2 rating, and it also has a DC fan motor. Now that side discharge system also has a DC fan motor. What that means is a normal condensing fan motor on a single stage system is AC AC, and so it's basically a variable speed fan motor. So when that fan first kicks on, it's kicking on at a corresponding speed for the compressor versus coming on at 100% capacity. And so these systems will help you maximize efficiency. And really the reason you get a system like this is if you have high energy bills, you live in a climate that is extremely hot and your system is running a lot and you need just to maximize efficiency, this is going to be the most efficient heat pump on the market. And that's not across all brands. It's going to vary by tonnage and by brands. There are other brands out there that have systems that might be 1 or 2, SEER rating higher, but it's really going to vary across from manufacturer to manufacturer. Most of them have a system that tops out somewhere between 20 and 24 SEER 2 on that rating. And this system is right in that ballpark of 22.5. And as you can see right here, this is the ASZV9. You can see the systems that qualify for the tax credit are up to 4 tons. It says, 1.94 tons is the terminology that we would use as contractors. And if you go in here and look at tax credit eligibility, this system is mostly going to qualify in these southern states, the orange states, because they don't do as well in the colder climates at the colder temperatures. And so if you're wanting a cold climate heat pump, your best option is going to be any of the side discharge systems. And that's pretty true across most of the manufacturers. If you look at all the other manufacturers, we've started to put out videos about other brands as well. And we do that because just to give you comparison between the different product lines, most of the side discharge systems are the ones that qualify for those cold climate heat pumps. And there are a few exceptions, obviously. But when you're picking out, your specific heat pump, one thing you can do to verify is this handy feature right here. And I'll make sure to link this Energy Star website in the description for you. But when you click on Explore Models, what this does is this allows you to pull up the exact matchup of the indoor unit and the outdoor unit for your specific system. So you look here, this is an ACIQ series product. It tells you, does this heat pump qualify in the north? No, it doesn't. Does it qualify in the south? Yes, it does. And then based on this information, you'll be able to tell, because it's not just the indoor unit or the outdoor unit that matters, it's the combination of both. And so if you look at this outdoor unit model number and this indoor unit model number, you can see which systems qualify, what the actual SEER rating is on that particular matchup, and then you can search by manufacturer. So if you go in here and search for Amana, it will pull up all the, or I probably didn't type that in right. Let me see. And so you can come in here and you can type in the model number. Now this particular system is a little finicky when you search it up. I actually had to search the actual model number like that. So it pulls up, this is manufactured by Goodman, or manufacturing company is how that's registered, even though the outdoor unit name is Amana. And so it wasn't showing up at first when I first searched that, but you can see, you can match up based on the indoor unit, the outdoor unit, which systems qualify. You can see if it qualifies in the north, which you can see this one doesn't have a matchup that qualifies. However, it does qualify in the south because of its efficiency rating. And again, you don't have to look into this. Your contractor should know this information. If they're an Amana dealer, they're going to have the information on which systems qualify, which systems don't qualify. Keep in mind, it is a lot to keep track of. Contractors are going to know how to look up this information for you. But I just like to explain that because some people, especially YouTubers and people who watch this stuff, are pretty hands-on and like to do their own research. And so I like to provide that as a little tool so you can do your own research and see what systems qualify, find a matchup that works in your specific situation, and how to get the best HVAC for your home. And if you happen to be in one of the areas we service, like Denver, Colorado, or Phoenix, Arizona, you can actually schedule an appointment with us for free. We come out for free for all first-time customers, whether that's for a service call or annual maintenance, or if you're just looking for an estimate for system replacement. And there's actually a link in the description below where you can actually schedule online at your convenience, as well as an up-to-date list of the cities and states that we service, so you can stay up to date when we start servicing your metro. So we hope you found this content helpful, and if you did, please smash that like button, and again, consider subscribing to the channel. And as mentioned earlier, there's a few videos popping up on the screen right now that YouTube thinks you should watch, as well as a video about heat pump efficiency ratings that you'll probably find helpful if you've just started your search.